This video was brought to you by Squarespace.
In some of my previous videos, I've talked about the best ways to save money, specific strategies you can use to be saving more money. I'll link some content up here and below in the description box if you're interested. And in those videos, I talked about how sometimes the best way to save money is actually to make more money. And I can say this honestly as someone who in grad school for years made under $30,000 a year. I've realized that honestly, the best way to be saving up money for the long term is to actually be making more money, to realize your own worth and using specific strategies to be getting a greater income on a regular basis. Because if you're not getting paid very well, it's difficult to save up money for those long-term goals, for that house, for those trips, for education, for things that you might need down the road. While I'm definitely not a financial expert, you should talk to someone else for that. I at least thought I'd share some of these ideas to get your wheels turning and thinking about how you might be able to make more money, ultimately to save more money.
Before we get into that, I want to very quickly talk about the sponsor of this video.
Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that allows you to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. I've used it numerous times in the past, and I've always gotten great compliments on my websites that I've used through Squarespace. They make creating your own website really easy and straightforward, but the aesthetics and the design make it feel really high-end. Squarespace makes it easy for creators to monetize their content in a way that fits their brand. You can use mailing lists, online stores, you can connect it to your social media accounts. Basically, it offers a lot of options to tailor your website to your particular needs. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/sliceoflight for 10% off your first website or domain. So my first recommendation for how to make more money is actually a more philosophical approach, and it's to make sure that you're finding enjoyment in your work. If your heart isn't in your work, if you don't enjoy your job, then it's very likely that you're going to shirk responsibilities where you can, that you're not going to put your full self into your work, and ultimately you won't work as well or as hard because you want to avoid work as much as possible. I think disliking your job ultimately makes it far more difficult to excel. And I'm not even just talking about the content or the topic of the job, I mean like the day-to-day work. Do you like what you're doing? For me, when I was in grad school, I was pursuing a career in academia, and while I really liked the topic of psychology when I was getting my PhD in, I didn't necessarily like all the crap you had to go through with academia, how competitive it was, how you constantly had to be applying for grants. And I realized I might have to move all over the country in order to get tenure anywhere. And I just felt like it was such a kind of cutthroat field that maybe my temperament wasn't quite right for it. Even though I enjoyed a lot of aspects of research, ultimately the day-to-day of it and all the headaches that came along with it weren't quite right for me. And I honestly think that I didn't excel as well in that field as I could have because of the environment and the conditions I was in. Now, I did get to the point where I was looking into postdocs and I was talking to people about postdocs, and I was feeling like I was finally starting to get pretty well connected in the field. I actually had a career kind of laid before me that I could pursue, but I knew deep down I wouldn't be as successful as some other people who were just more into the idea of academia, of writing papers nonstop, of applying for grants, of applying for awards. That just wasn't entirely my style. And I knew deep down I wasn't enjoying the everyday work that I had to put in order to be successful. That's when ultimately I decided to pivot careers and to pursue something more creative. And what's kind of funny is that I'm actually making more money now in the career than I would have if I had kept in the field of psychology. And I'm doing something that I love that's more creative, and I have multiple jobs basically right now. I have a full-time job as a podcast producer, as well as doing a number of side hustles, including photography and videography and this YouTube channel. I'm enjoying my time way more. I'm probably working way more hours than I was, although believe me, grad school was a lot of work. But I'm enjoying it and it doesn't feel like working. Like right now when I'm shooting this, it is a Saturday morning. I could be relaxing. I could be binge watching TV, but because I enjoy creating these videos, I'm doing this instead. Now I know that switching careers isn't always feasible for everyone. It can be difficult and you might just not have the money or the time or the space in your life to actually shift careers, even if you're not feeling good about your current job. But that's also where I would argue that you can find some kind of enjoyment in your current job. Even if there are aspects of your position that you don't entirely like, how can you make your own job more fun? How can you expand upon the parts of your job that you enjoy? How can you make the parts of your job that you dislike more efficient? Or how could you advocate for yourself to your boss and ask for roles or opportunities that are more interesting to you? I truly believe that if we enjoy the work we're doing more on an everyday basis, we'll be able to be more efficient, potentially work longer hours, but not have it be overwhelming and miserable. I'm not just saying work longer, I'm saying enjoy the work you do so that it doesn't have to feel so much like work. Ultimately, I think when we enjoy the job we do, we also perform better and we give off a good energy that our bosses or our coworkers appreciate, ultimately leading to more success. The second great way to make more money is to start a side hustle. Now, be careful not to fall for any scams or positions that actually lead you to losing a lot of money. Do your research. But there are so many opportunities in this world to make some money on the side. I hear this all the time, but having multiple streams of income really is a great way to make way more money. And because it's multiple sources, again, fitting with the theme of the last point, each of those things don't feel as much like work. Like for me, this YouTube channel right now, it's kind of a side hustle for me. And it honestly doesn't feel that much like work because it's fun. I get to engage with a community. I get to think about these ideas and principles, plan videos, and edit them. I find a lot of the process really fun, and it stops feeling like a job, if that makes sense. So I think that having another source of income, a side hustle, can be fun and therefore an easier way to be working longer hours and making more money. In the past, I've done things like teaching violin lessons. I also started a photography and videography business that got so overpowering I had to actually step back a bit from it. Also, these days, there are so many platforms like Etsy and Poshmark where you can sell things. If you're an artist, you can sell your own art on Etsy. In this day and age, it's easier to make money off of your hobbies because of social media and because of these selling platforms. Just figure out what is it that you enjoy, and is there a way to monetize a skill you already have? Can you tutor? Can you teach some kind of course? There's so many avenues for this, and it actually just takes the kind of self-confidence to be like, this is worth something to other people, and I should ask for money for it. I never went into my past ventures thinking, I'm going to make this a side hustle. It was just kind of this organic thing where it was something I enjoyed anyway, or a skill I had anyway, and I just started asking for some money for those services, and it's really worked out well. Also, when I started this YouTube channel, I did not think it was going to get monetized. No way. But now it's a significant source of income for me and a huge source of fun. So figure out what is it that you enjoy, and is there a way to shift it into a way to make just a little bit more money? A third way to make more money is to ask for a raise. I know it's straightforward and obvious, but how often do we get the push to actually do it? How often do we kick it down the road? I personally find that it is difficult to ask for a raise. I think especially as a woman, I feel weird. I feel guilty. I don't know why. It's like I feel like I'm not deserving. I had all these limiting beliefs about how much I could make or how much I'm worth. I don't know where they came from, but just implicitly, I've always thought of myself as less worthy than I probably am. And it's only over the last few years that I've started to think about my value and that perhaps sometimes I deserve more than I initially thought. I mean, just thinking about how little I got paid in grad school for years. Now, granted, I was also getting an education, but the fact that as a clinical psychology PhD student, I was giving therapy numerous days a week, I was doing a lot of work in research, I was working really hard, and in a sense, my classes were almost like the smallest amount of my time. I really feel like I probably wasn't paid as much as I should have been. And it really is a structural problem in the education system, I think. But ultimately, I do think that it's easy for us to not see our worth and just follow the norms of whatever hierarchical structure we're living under. Now, I'm not advocating for you to ask for totally unreasonable wages, but I think it's easy to not take the time to sit back and look at what you're doing, how much value you're bringing to the table, and whether maybe you deserve a higher wage. It's all about starting a conversation. Sometimes getting a raise takes months, so I'd encourage you to get that conversation going if it's something that you think you deserve. A fourth way to make more money is to apply for a new job. And again, I know this one is a little bit obvious, but when do we get the push to actually do it? Whether you're applying for a new job as a negotiation tactic to get more money at your current job, or whether you actually want to go to a new company, sometimes the best way to have an increase in pay is to have some kind of other offer. I started reading a lot about this topic of how much of an increase in pay people tend to get, but it seems that in general, it was somewhere between a 10 to 20% increase in pay when you switch jobs, which that is a lot of money. If your housing is only supposed to be a small portion of your income, that could almost take care of housing if you get that increase in pay. So often we're so used to the current job we have that it's hard to get the impetus to apply for new positions. Now, we can't always switch jobs all the time because I do think obviously it looks good when you stay in one position for a period of time. But if you're just not getting the raise that you feel you deserve, consider applying for a new position. A fifth way to make money is to sell your old stuff. And I think this is relevant for those of you who watch my channel because of the decluttering and minimalism videos here. I often declutter stuff that's actually worth a lot of money. And I found it to be really helpful to sell things on Poshmark or on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. I've used all of these resources to sell some of my belongings, and often I've made more than I thought I would. It's also a great way to get rid of your stuff in a way that's more environmentally friendly and that will give those objects a second life. Another way to make more money is to invest and to let that money naturally grow over time. The sooner you invest, the more advantageous it is. I used to see investing as this dark cloud of the unknown, and I just didn't know even where to start or how to start. But I just needed to realize that it's not actually that hard, especially in this day and age, to talk to a financial advisor and just get advice. If you don't know how to do something, ask somebody who does. Or if you work at a job that offers you a 401k program, take advantage of it. There are also apps these days that make it so easy to save. I've started using this app that regularly randomly takes money out of my bank account and sets it aside so I don't really see it and it's just there. There are even automated ways that it invests that money for me. There are lots of apps like this out there. Basically, if it just feels like this unknown, scary thing and you haven't gotten around to it or you haven't lately checked in on how you can be improving your investments, take this as a sign to just go educate yourself a little bit more about how you could be investing better and smarter. Anyway, those are my ideas for how to save money by making more money. If you have other ideas, feel free to share them in the comments below. I love hearing these ideas. I certainly want to figure out how to be smarter with my money in the future because I'll admit, historically, I have not been the smartest with my money. If you ended up enjoying the video, hit the thumbs up button. You can also subscribe below. Doing those things really supports the channel. So if you're willing to just hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. I am going to be making more videos on money and on minimalism and on building an empowering mindset. So if any of that interests you, go ahead and give it a click. And I also have my Instagram and Patreon linked in the description box below. Both those provide more content directly from me. And don't forget to check out Squarespace if you're interested. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.